Hello there, Facebook world. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, happy Wednesday. I am super, super excited for today's guest, Shelby Osborne from North Carolina. Welcome, Shelby.
Hey, good morning, everyone, and Micah. Thanks for having me.
Good morning, good afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are in the world. Shelby, I'm really excited. I've known you for a couple years now, but I personally got to meet you in person just a few months ago at our Puerto Rico mastermind. So I knew that you were on fire and you were just like this little ball of energy, but you definitely have that energy when you meet you in person. So I'm excited for everybody here to get to know you. Do you mind just telling us, a little bit about yourself and then how you got into real estate?
Sure. Yeah. So I was in the Army before real estate. I was in the military for 6 years, and it was great in the beginning. And overall, I learned so much, but it got to a point where I just became increasingly frustrated with the rules that the Army imposes on you. And I felt like I was being restricted in a lot of ways. So I looked for other options, and a lot of pieces fell into place around the same time. I had a property that I'd bought as, a 21-year-old that I'd moved out of and started renting. And so I was paying attention to it, and I was like, wow, it's increasing in value and the tenant's bringing in income. So I was like, whoa, what about real estate? And that aligned with a few other things. As I was getting out of the military, I decided to get my license and pursue the agent life as well as the investor life in real estate.
Awesome. So you don't have any family or anyone that was previously in real estate or an investor. So you just decided to go all in.
It didn't influence me because I didn't realize it until after I'd made the decision. But my grandfather actually was a real estate agent. And my dad hasn't been investing. He's not super serious about real estate investing, but he did accumulate some properties over the years. So, I mean, kind of.
No, that's awesome. No, that's and same with me. I've had some family members that were investors, but they didn't take it to that next level. I think some people kind of dabble in it, if you will.
Yeah. Totally.
With that said, you don't dabble at all. So do you mind kind of sharing your numbers? I mean, you're young, and what I think is highly, highly impressive, and you own quite a deal of real estate now.
Yeah. So since I stumbled into that very first property that I bought back when I was in my early 20s. And after that, I didn't buy again until 2017 on my way out of the military. And since then, investment focused heavily along with the agent stuff. And I have 74 doors in my portfolio. And that's it's a bunch of different strategies to get those properties. And I've also done flips and a bunch of random stuff in real estate. So
74. I mean, that's not a small number. So before you know it, you're going to be in the 3 digits.
Maybe. I'm actually at the place where I'm like, all right, let's slow down and let's optimize what I have, as opposed to, it's just, I want to make sure that I love to go fast for sure, but I want to make sure that everything that I do is also done as well as possible. So I'm heightening awareness in that front as well.
So what kind of units are these? Are these single family, some short-term rentals, which I believe that you do, apartments? Yes. Is it a kind of variation, all the above?
It is such a slew of things, man. So I have one condo ever. That was my very first one that I purchased. And other than that, I have single family. I have duplexes, triplexes, quads, 1 5-unit, 1 6-unit, and 1 8-unit. And within that, some of them are short-term rentals, the Airbnbs, and some of them are the long-term.
Okay. So what made you get into short-term rentals? So you're in Charlotte. Is that primarily where all your real estate is?
No, actually. The majority of my real estate is in Fayetteville, North Carolina, because I was at Fort Bragg in North Carolina before getting out and decided to stay there since I already had that sphere of influence and network. And also the barrier for entry financially is much lower in Fayetteville, and it's a good cash flow market. So most of my properties are there. I just have 2 in Charlotte, 2 doors plus a flip that I'm about to sell in the Charlotte area.
Oh, fantastic. That makes sense. And, even for me, I still invest in Oklahoma City, even though I don't live there anymore. Like I said, the barrier's a lot lower, the returns are greater. And when you're familiar with the market, it just makes all that much easier. So what made you get into short-term and Airbnbs?
totally realized after I said my last response that I did not answer your question.
No, I think I asked you 2 questions in
Okay,
one,
so I did 50%. Yeah, so I got into short-term rentals after one of the guys on my team actually tested it first, and then he was like, "Hey guys, like this is crushing it," because he had a quadplex and he just changed one of the units into a short-term rental, and
Smart.
it was making 2 to 3 times what the other units were making per month. And then from there I was like, okay, well, I'll test it on a few, and lo and behold, it's proven true across the board that the short-term rentals will generate 2 to 3 times the amount that a long-term fixed rate would, even after considering all of the expenses and increased property management fees and stuff like that. So overall, like at this point, if it's not an Airbnb, I'm not doing it. And the BRRRR and B strategy is really my bread and butter, I would say. If you guys know what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously being an investor, I know, but I was going to ask you, for those that aren't familiar with the BRRRR strategy, do you mind kind of elaborating on that?
Yes, it is one of the best strategies that you can recycle your funds with. So time and money are kind of the 2 biggest things that are holdbacks for investors. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to go as quickly as possible. And by the way, how do I get the money to go as quickly as possible? So in the BRRRR strategy, you start out by acquiring a generally distressed property, but at least significantly under market value. So that's the B. You're going to buy low. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to renovate or rehab that property to increase the value. At that point, once it's all fixed up, that's the R, renovate. And then after it's all fixed up, you're going to throw a tenant in there and get it rented. It's the next R. And then at that point, you can go to a lender and say, I have this property. It's worth X amount, and they will let you refinance that property to recoup the money that you put in to purchase and renovate it. So with that, you're able to take property and use those same funds over and over again as you recycle them.
Nice. No, absolutely makes sense. So instead of, flipping, which a lot of investors do, then you're just recycling, you're being able to take those funds and purchase into new, and you're still holding on to that property, right? You're not flipping and actually selling it. So, which really leads me into my next question. 74 doors is a lot. I personally have owned up there. Now I'm actually selling and getting into some triple net deals.
Yeah. Cool.
So are you managing those, or I think you mentioned hiring a property manager?
I'm all about leverage as much as you can. So I did self-manage though my first up until 16 doors. And at that point, I only had long-term rentals at that point, and I hired a property manager. So all of my long-term properties are managed by one company. And then my short-term rentals I have now someone in-house to manage those properties. So 2 different property managers. And then I also have kind of like an assistant who's freaking wonderful. And she helps whenever there are problems, unless they have to call me too.
Gotcha,
if that makes sense.
So there's some barriers that they don't have to come up to you. I see Reuben's on here. Hey, Reuben.
What's up, Reuben?
So for those of you that don't know, Reuben and I are good friends, and we work together in EXP. He's also in Fayetteville, and then Reuben sponsored Shelby, and that's how I was introduced to Shelby. So it's great to see the collaboration, how everyone works together. So let's kind of take a step back. And how did you get into real estate? So you said you got out of the Army, you started getting into investing. At what point did you actually become a licensed agent?
I got my license in November of 2017 when I was still in the military. So I would go work all day and then come back and go quickly to the night school that we did in person back in the day. And then I got my license in November of 2017, and I got out on terminal leave. But basically I got out of the Army at the end of January 2018, and that's when I started jumping into real estate.
Oh, wow. So all this success is just in the matter of the last 4 years or so, if you will, 3-4 years. So you were individual agent. Now I know that you're the CEO and founder of the 5 Pillars team. Can you kind of talk about that evolution of not just being an investor, but being a producing agent, and then now building a team?
For sure. So 2018 was a really hard year. Everyone, it's really hard when you're first getting into real estate as an agent. You're like, what do I do? Blood, sweat, tears, but also, kind of lack direction. But pushed through that. And by the end of 2018, I was the Keller Williams Rookie of the Year for all of North and South Carolina. So wow. I closed 48 my first year as a solo agent.
That's amazing.
Thanks. But I was fortunate to be around people like Reuben. And actually, Reuben connected me with Michael Glaspie, who helped build 5 Pillars from the ground up. He was the first ever non-Shelby pillar. And we kind of decided on the direction of it together, which, and by that, we just kept attracting other like-minded people. So the people who we were attracting were generally a lot of them military, the ones who wanted to crush it as a real estate agent. So that way they could use those commission checks to pour into investing. And we just started building a community. And from there, 5 Pillars became official in 2019. And our first year as a team, we closed 130 deals. And then the second year was 230. And then in 2021, we switched from the traditional, old school type of team model to the purely EXP kind of community model, which has been great as well. So I love it.
So explain that. No, I did. I mean, I obviously you've had a lot of success, but I'm honestly more excited to see where you're going to go because you've had such a great success in a short amount of time. I can only imagine where you're going to be in the next 5-10 years. So you mentioned the old-fashioned model really versus the new modern model. Can you kind of explain that? And then how, we keep talking about EXP, obviously we're business partners there. Yeah. How did you get into EXP?
Yeah, so I was at Keller Williams, obviously, after my first year. And it wasn't until, I think it was May of 2019, that Reuben, me, and Mike all got together. And we were feeling some frustrations with limitations that were put on us from Keller Williams. A lot of the people were great, don't get me wrong, and I loved my time there. But we were looking for tech forward, big-minded, investor-minded people, as well as what can we do to take the business away from old school, traditional, even brick and mortar, all that into what's next, what's coming. They use the comparison of Blockbuster versus Netflix, like with EXP. And I find that to be very true, where I feel like the older brokerages are the Blockbusters and let's get on Netflix, man.
Right. Yeah. Because we all know Blockbuster's not around anymore. And again, we're not here to, we're not saying anything against any brokerage, but it's all in alignment, right? I always say there's no brokerage for every single agent. It just depends on what your personal goals are and making sure that you're in alignment with the right brokerage. So I think that's awesome. So how has your journey been so far at EXP?
Yeah, it was interesting. In the beginning, I cared so much more about 5 Pillars that I didn't even pay attention to EXP. So EXP was just something that was operating in the background because I knew that I didn't want to be a firm. I knew that. And so I needed a firm and a broker in charge in order to continue building 5 Pillars, the team. And the team was based on that old school model, which if you guys don't know, it's the firm operates, the firm takes their split. And then once you get to the team, it's an additional, we did 50-50 splits with everyone who was on the team. But we provided so much support, and there was so much weight on my admin. We had a whole staff. And we just found out that the agents, we wanted to give them more money, but we needed that money in order to provide the leverage. It was just this vicious kind of circle, which Absolutely. Eventually over time, I was like, you know what? We can freaking do it all. The agents, if we shifted our model to what EXP is really built for, I started paying attention. I was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Shifted the model. The agents get more money. Now there's no team split, 0 team split at all. The agents get more money. I went to my admin and I said, yo, guys, you can start your own business. Let's do this. I'll help you together. So now they have transaction coordinating business, a listing coordinator business. My admin have gone and popped up and created their own businesses. It makes me so freaking proud.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even realize all of this. So it sounds like you took a step back in order to do what's in the best interest of your agents.
For everyone. Now my agents are getting more money. My admin are all getting more money. And at this point, all the weight of the stuff that I didn't, particularly love, being responsible for every bit of someone else's execution and success. Now it's just all the fun parts. It's the community. It's all of the education. And so all the stuff that we've built over the past, 3 years as 5 pillars, all of those systems, all of those checklists, videos, tools, training is given for free for all of the agents in the community. And it's community based now as opposed to like the old school, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, 100%. And I think that's really the biggest difference between, like you said, the old school, old fashioned model versus the modern team. And you're providing that value, and you're going to be able to really retain those team members more, because at the end of the day, they have to be loyal to their families, just like you, and that have that alignment and that support. So I think that's a brilliant model. So, kind of tell us just a little bit in where, what are some of your big goals? I mean, where are we going to see Shelby in the next few years?
That is a great question. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. So right now I'm loving the community more than anything else. It's like, I'm really enjoying the fact that I can have agents, join the community, and I don't have to tell them that we also take 50% of their split. It's like, yeah, I'll keep all your, so I'm really enjoying that right now and helping other people build their businesses. For me, I think I'd like to do that on a larger scale as well. Like, for instance, actually, as of yesterday, I am going to speak at a conference, in a real estate investors conference in March.
Oh, wow. So congratulations. That's awesome. That's a big deal.
I'm very excited about it. So I think more stuff like that. And then also I think, I got a lot of ideas. I'm not quite sure, I guess, is the answer.
That's awesome. So basically we need to stay tuned, keep watching, right? And we'll see. So that's fantastic. Well, great. So for agents that might be interested, I know that you're starting to grow, all over the country. For agents that are interested in some of those support systems that you've built and be able to partner with you at EXP, what does that look like, and how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So it looks, super biased opinion, it looks great. So basically, if you are an agent who, our perfect fit really is someone who's drowning in their business and is not as good with systems, leverage, how to actually break through that barrier of survival every day. Because so many agents are at that where they're just like, I have a ton of business, but I don't know how to live at the same time. So if you guys are interested in that piece, agents out there, if you're listening, just hit me up. So 5pillarsrealty.com, and then you can just connect. It says join our team. But also Real Estate with Shelby on Instagram, just shoot me a message. And I'd love to just at least, talk to you about what we have going on. And it's really good for people who are trying to bust through barriers, but also want to invest. It's like, you don't have to work with investors, but if you want to learn how to build a life that pays you income every month, as opposed to you having to keep working for that paycheck again and again and again, the closing, then we're good for that too.
Yeah. And I, me being biased as well, I love working with investors. I love working with entrepreneurial type agents, because you understand math and you understand numbers. We're able to kind of take our egos or the emotion out of it and really do what's in the best interest of everyone. So my last question here is, you had just briefly mentioned, being in the Army. Do you feel that has played a role in your very quick success here in real estate?
Oh my gosh, yes. Times a million. So yeah, and the military taught me a lot about systems and documenting your systems. They call them SOPs, but standard operating procedures. So it's ingrained in me that is the way in which you operate. It's like, you discover, you document, and then you pass it along, and whoever's next does a little better job about keeping it updated. So that, as well as delegation. The Army really slams you with work so much that if you're in a position where you're fortunate enough to have people that you work with and being able to delegate, plan for the future, hold people accountable, timelines and stuff like that, very, very helpful. And then also leadership, just in general. It's been great. Love the Army.
That's great. No, and I think those are some great nuggets, for even newer agents or producers, like you said, that have hit that barrier, is how can they streamline it? And it really goes down to, as you mentioned, know your numbers, procedures, systems, leverage, right? So that's fantastic. So, well, I just want to encourage anyone, whether you're in the North Carolina market or even outside, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube or our podcast, reach out to Shelby. She's doing amazing things. And I want to thank you for not only taking time to be on this call today, but being in business together. I've, truly enjoyed seeing your success. And, I can't wait to see where you're going to go.
Thank you for having me. It's been super fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Shelby. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.